Welcome to the Shifting Realities podcast. I'm your host, Julie Allison, and with me, as always, is my co host and friend, Robert Perry. In today's
Morning.
podcast, we're going to look at what to do when we're seeing all this chaos at the moment. I mean, it's world chaos at the moment. And what a lot of people are doing, as we observe, we see people just kind of looking at it from a 3D point of view. So from the physics, from what's going on, from all the physical senses, what they see, what they hear, through things, the media, for instance. And what we want to do today is to tell people about how to work and maneuver through and navigate the way through far beyond the 3D perspective, which then helps us to understand that everything that feels in chaos for you at the moment, whether it's in your personal life or what you can see globally, is just this beautiful gift that we've been given to help you have life unfold, have it unfolding to have the life that you want. So I don't know whether you want to start with your point of view from this, Rob, and what the guides have said and
Sure.
how you work with
Yeah,
this.
sure. We've spent the last however many weeks now, I think we're on episode 11,
Mm,
talking about spirit guides and how we work with our
yeah.
guides and whatever you call guides, it doesn't matter at all. But the spiritual entities that are there to help you with your everyday life and guide you. So let's hope that people are managing to make connections and find out what it's like to have them around. So as we look at the chaos that's going on around us now, and gosh, there's a lot.
Mm,
July has started really with a doozy. If you just think from our own perspective, we have elections on Thursday in the UK, and it's already descending into fairly farcical dimensions. So whoever's going to win. America, the Supreme Court has just issued a whole slew of rules that kind of allow the Handmaid's Tale to start to come into
mm,
reality. And everywhere you look, France, the election with the right seemingly sweeping into a stronger position than ever before. So this is worldwide. It's not just the countries I've mentioned.
mm,
But everywhere you look, there is instability, chaos, and uncertainty. And accordingly, you will experience that quite possibly in your own life. So when you're working with your guides, you can talk to them about this. You can find a way to navigate through, because what you cannot do is get caught up in this.
mm.
Really, yeah, you're a responsible citizen. Of course, you can go and vote wherever you are, and you can make your mark that way. And please vote with your consciousness, not with your brain. Right? I won't say any more on that. But you really, really can pull yourself out of this and look at it from above, and just remember as you watch all this chaos that you have guidance, you have a path to follow, and you do not have to walk with the dinosaurs, because they are marching to a second extinction, and the world will shift into something incredible. This chaos is the shift. This is Shifting Realities, the podcast, and we are keenly aware of the shift in reality. So you have to weather this. The calm before the storm has gone, and we are in the storm. We have to weather the storm. Storms blow over and things calm down and become beautiful again. So stay brave, keep your courage, talk to the people who are there, or the entities that are there to help you, and just walk through this process with authenticity and with a sense of detachment that this is not my reality. I'm headed for the other side of this. I'll see you on the other side. Still a process to go, but just be brave. We'll get there. How do you see
Yeah.
it, Julie?
Yeah. Well, following on from what you just said, Rob, yes, if you were to, talking with the guides, what they assure you is that, all is not as it seems. So while we're working from a 3D point of view constantly, many people still choose to work from the 3D point of view. It might be just parts of their sales contract, etc. They continually see the chaos, but what the guides tell us to do is, as Rob says, detach yourself, literally whatever you focus on comes into your world. And so it's not about ignoring things as well. This is about just being very neutrally observing what's going on and thinking, "Oh, what's it mirroring? What's this reflection back on me?" And you can even, you can do this in the global point of view and in personal, because usually when there's chaos going on globally, there's just some sort of chaos. Might be at work, might be just something, personally with relationships, etc. It might be with bank accounts, everything. And usually you find, people want to work on one thing. Is it just my relationship? Is it just work? Is it just money? Is it just my health? But I tend to find that everything's related. And so when you start looking at all of these from the higher perspective, what does that actually mean? So when we say, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, or I'm going to do some work with the guides for 5 minutes, you'll have those 5 minutes of, say, dropping into your heart, which is what we always say, dropping into your heart, dropping into a space where eventually you'll find it's in the quantum field or even in higher dimensions. And you start understanding that there is more than just this 3D chaos. But what you've got to do is then, when you come in out of, say, out of your stillness and meditation, you've got to live the rest of the 24 hours in sort of navigating also from this higher perspective. So there's actually no need to live sort of anxious about it. There's no need to live worrying about it, because when you're worrying about what's going on in the world, when you're worrying about what's going on in your personal life, that is means you're attached to it. That's what Rob means, just disassociated with it, no attachment to it. And understand that the more you work with this, being unattached, it might feel even hard to do at the moment if you're used to focusing on the bad things. But when you work at it, when you commit to it, when you take responsibility for committing, just like if you wanted to feel fitter, healthier, you have to be the one to commit to eating healthily, having more exercise. And this is exactly the same. There is no different to, doing spiritual exercise and being spiritually nutritious, looking at things, it's not just about looking at things positively, but it's about changing, shifting your reality by focusing more on what you do want. Because the more you focus on the chaos and what's going on, the more it will come to you, the more it will reflect to you. This is coming back to everything being a frequency. So everything's just matching your frequency. And what we can then say is, people will say to us, well, how is all this chaos matching my frequency? I thought I'd done all this work. But understand, in order to reach that higher frequency, things have to drop away. And probably, contrary to what people believe when they see people out there, see gurus out there saying, I just did this work for a few weeks and all of a sudden my life was better. I'm not sure I know anyone particularly who's just found out something for a few weeks and the life has got, exactly how they wanted it to be. It can be, I think it'll end up being a bit of a lifetime thing to do, is to continually look into those things that are blocking us, stopping us from what we're doing, and continually looking at things that are causing chaos in order to then work into the correct, into the timeline we want, to the trajectory that we want, that is, us all winning, let's say, that winning trajectory. And that's just by doing all this work to get yourself focusing on the things you do want, to make yourself go away from this false sense of worry, this false fear. All fear is false. It doesn't actually exist if you go beyond the 3D. So the only place it exists is in 3D. So if you want to go beyond that, work in the higher dimensions, which is what we do when you meditate, or, I know we don't like to say meditate, but it's when you work in the stillness, when you work with your guides and you really do listen to your guides, then you get into those states and you start to understand. There's people will call it an inner standing. I love that. And you start to understand what's really going on. The guides will show you things where you go, I see why that's going on. I don't have to worry about that. I'll now focus on this other thing that I do want. You anything to say on
Yeah.
that, Rob?
I'm glad you brought the fear word in
Yeah, yeah.
because that's really key. The more you give in to the chaos
Mm,
and
mm,
the nonsense around you and what you're being fed, the more you fear.
mm.
There's that dreadful phrase that we have in the English language, fear of God.
Yes.
What's the
Oh,
fear of God in me? There is no fear to be had in God, whatever you call God. No
mm,
fear at all. So if you give into that fear, you feed it.
yeah.
So the more you consume the wrong media,
Mm,
the more you talk yourself into believing lies or are talked into believing lies, you're just being manipulated and you're living in a world of fear and you put fear back into the energy field.
yes.
So it just goes round and round and round and magnifies and magnifies and magnifies. So the hardest lesson, I think, is to stop with the fear, look through it. So that sense of detachment I said earlier,
Yeah.
just look at your
Yeah.
own life, pull yourself out of the mess, and know that all these things are temporary.
Mm,
I am luckily too young to have lived through either of the world wars. I don't know how the people who lived through the world wars coped with that
no,
horror.
no.
But from my perspective, they are now historic. They're over. So I'm aware they might come again in some way or other. But right now, I don't obsess myself with that. So the things that are happening now, be they wars or elections or right-wing victories or whatever it is that worries you, they'll be gone soon enough.
Mm, mm,
So don't get stuck in them because they are old ways. And if you want to arrive at a new earth, a new world reality, you cannot be stuck in the old ways. And if you work with your guides, they will not allow you to be stuck in your old ways.
mm,
They will help you through. So talk to them all the time. Be there, be present with them.
mm. And the guides remind us that there is no past, present, and future. There is just
Mm-hmm.
the now. There's just this moment to moment to moment. So, in this moment, what are your feelings right now? In this moment, what are you thinking right now? What
Yeah,
are you imagining right now? So, we've said this before, but you can project something into the quantum field. And again, this is scientifically proven now. So as Rob's just been saying here, whether this is it hopefully in a different way that you can understand as well, is if you keep worrying about what's going on and saying, well, this is going to happen, all you're doing is using your imagination, your thoughts, your feelings to make it happen. That's why we continually say it's not about ignoring it, it's just about observing what's going on. And then you choose to not have that thing that you're observing and you choose to have something else. So stop looking at the thing that you're observing and observing with a worried mind or an anxious mind, and never mind about, well, I can't help it, I'm always anxious. That's that's just like somebody saying I've always smoked so I can't stop it. There's ways and means if you
mm,
truly want it to stop it. We've all had to break habits of things. It's only a habit, so we know that, and that's all good, and everything's good, no judgment there at all. Everything's good because you can choose in that moment what to think about, what to do. So why not in this moment understand there is no past. It's just a pattern. It's like something that's currently happened. There's just a pattern that's going on. So even all the wars are just a pattern from the very beginning. So it's up to us humans now. We need to experience the way of coming through that. We've experienced all these patterns, so all the times we've, let's say, lost, all these, Rob has mentioned the wars. people will think about Atlantis and Lemuria. There are anybody working with uh, galactic guides can think about the Orion Wars and the Lyran Wars. And this is all just a pattern. It's actually just a pattern occurring now, if you want to think of it like that. So we've got to got to stop that pattern happening
Yeah.
by not being projecting ourselves, focusing on the things that we don't want, the things that we're seeing. We've got to shift the reality by actually saying, what is it I do want? So for every single person out there, in this moment, what is it you do want? And then continue to go with that thing you do want. And obviously, in your personal life, we can have different things. That's absolutely fine. But in the world, what world do you want to see? As Rob said, in order to shift to, let's say, the 5D Earth, it's just a frequency. The shift in reality is simply shifting the frequency, the vibration that you're on. So, right in this moment, are you in a vibration of fear, which is fear is an umbrella for any of this guilt, shame, worry, even anxiety is not actually feeling, but it's just a perspective on things, isn't it? Of all the things that are happening right now that you don't want, or even things that you're projecting. Very often I have conversations with people who'll say, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And the only thing that's happening there is you're projecting that into your quantum field. So you're making it happen. So instead of that, it's
Mhm.
what if this good thing can happen? What if the world could change around? What if the whole world could shift its reality and raise its consciousness, which is what me and Rob are all about.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
want worst case scenario, you can just bring it on yourself if you want to,
Yeah.
or you
I
can
told you
not.
so.
Exactly.
I told you that would happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. How often do you hear that? Yeah, I knew it would. I
What?
knew it.
Yep.
Yes.
And I just think
Yeah.
inside, Rob, don't you? I think it's like, yes, you're absolutely, and if I say, yes, you are correct, that's
Mm.
it, because you caused it, you thought,
Yeah,
and I
absolutely. We've
don't
all
mean it
done
in a
it.
bad, I
You
don't mean
know,
in a bad way.
we've all done it. We've all
Yeah.
realized our worst case scenario
I'm
of
always,
things by fretting and worrying
yes, yes.
instead of realigning our thoughts into a more positive way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can turn your thoughts into an incredibly positive and higher frequency. And sometimes what you were hoping you would avoid, you don't avoid. And that's
Mm,
because you haven't learned the lesson yet. So you're
yes.
just getting a
That's all
swift
it is.
kick in the rear to learn that lesson and move on.
Yeah.
So none of it should bring you worry or concern. It's just part of the process of maturing in frequency,
Yes.
of growing up into the new reality,
Yes,
which
and
is
the
the best place
lesson,
to be.
exactly. The lesson isn't about the karmic lesson that we all think. The lesson is, how do I get out of it? That's the lesson. It's not thinking too much into it. You sit still with it, but the lesson is, right, how do I shift from it? That's the whole,
Yeah,
that's human, what we're here there for at the minute. How do I shift out of it? Not constantly thinking into the lesson and the karmic part of it, because all that part is the false part. But the truth of it is, how can I move away from it, be truthful to myself, be authentic to myself? That's your lesson as a human being
absolutely.
when we
And
can
there's all
go
those wonderful
beyond.
entities over there waiting for you, twiddling their thumbs, wondering when you're going to connect. So
Exactly.
get on with it, please.
Exactly.
You know,
And the more you step away from the 3D, which is just the worry,
yeah,
the falseness, the fear, all the things that are happening in this chaos now, step away from it, choose to step away, go into what all the wonderful, you don't even have to think, what are they right now? Think about how you are going to connect with the guides. If you are already, that's absolutely fabulous. Make sure you're discerning and make sure you're getting the guides of the highest vibration, and trust me and Rob, it's wonderful to connect with the guides and to see things from a different, you immediately see things from a different perspective that
yeah,
enables you to start shifting all your reality into what you do want. Don't get me wrong, I'm still there, I'm still looking at other things, but I think you get where you want one thing, and when it's happened, you're then wanting another thing. So it just works like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot more that me and Rob have, are certainly. I don't know about you, Rob. I've been contracted to work with, with souls and all sorts of things, to help. Even to be honest, at World War, wherever I go, where there's
Right.
like cenotaphs and things and
Yeah.
things that memorials for World Wars.
Right.
I'm always asked by the guides to help the souls there. So that's another thing that I have to continue to do to help the whole earth. Some people work with
Yeah.
grid lines, etc. I know this feels like it's going off on a tangent, but it's the global thing that this is what's continuous as well, and I'm happy to do it because I know it will help me as well. It'll help the whole world. I'm saying that because I wasn't happy at first. It used to be, oh, why me? Oh,
Yeah.
why do I have to
Yeah. Yeah.
do all this? But when you're able and capable of helping souls that are just lost, souls that were sort of went too quickly, they literally flew out the bodies too quickly. It's absolutely okay to help them, and then it will, again, we're shifting the world reality. I know that
Yeah.
feels like I certainly feel like I've come off track,
Just
but
a
I
bit.
think, yeah, I think when we're looking
Yeah.
at, some of the things that we're, here to help with, we just have to really take responsibility and understand if we do something within, if we do something ourselves, and it couldn't just be the littlest thing, working to help yourself, heal yourself, which will heal your family. So not everybody has to do the same thing. So if
Indeed.
you just do
Yeah.
healing on yourself, if you're an anxious person, a worry person, understand what the fear, what fear was, change all that around for yourself, and you'll notice a big shift in the rest of your family, particularly your children, because they mirror you. Your children are
Mhm.
a mirror to you as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. Julie, whenever we do go off tangent, which is frankly fairly often,
Yes.
it's always a direct message.
It's for a reason. Yeah,
Yeah, it's for a reason. We're not
reason.
making it up. We're not unfocused and ill-disciplined. We're
Yeah,
being led.
yeah,
So that
yeah,
message needs to come through.
yeah, definitely. There's a reason for it. And this is now I just had this from the guys as well. The reason being it's not about, oh, I'm going to ignore that bit because I don't like it. It's all about understanding that we're not saying ignore it. We're not saying ignore the chaos. We're saying just work into it, but from a different perspective.
Yeah.
We may ignore the chaos that's going personally. We may have a memory of something, and we may go, oh, I don't like that memory, I'm going to just put it out my head, and then it'll come back again. And I experienced this at the weekend with a few things that I thought had cleared and I hadn't, but it just is there, this gift. I thought, oh gosh, yes, I do have to deal with it. I might not want to, but I have to deal with it. So it's the same with this chaotic world. So when I say deal with it, you have to observe it, not ignore it, but observe it. But in the observation, you're understanding how neutral things can be. So that's allowing that frequency to then shift into
Yeah.
the frequency that we want. Hope that makes that bit clear.
I think it does. I think we should also stop now because I think we said quite
Yes,
enough for one
we
session.
have for this one. Yes. Yeah. So I really do hope that's helped. And if if you're not sure, just I would actually say just listen to this again until you actually
Yeah,
go, ah, I understand it now. I understand, my responsibility and what I need to do, and my
indeed.
purpose, what I need to do. Okay, we will see you next week.